It started on an ordinary Friday evening in our quiet suburban home just outside Seattle. My husband James had been working late more often than usual lately, and that night was no exception. He told me his boss, David, wanted to discuss something important with him over dinner. To my surprise, I was invited along. I'd met David a few times before, always at company events or brief office drop-ins. He was in his late 50s, sharp, confident, and the kind of guy who could command a room without even trying. He had this easy charisma that drew people in, but there was always something about him that felt guarded, like he was holding a card up his sleeve. I wasn't exactly thrilled about the dinner. James's work events were usually a slog, stiff conversations about sales targets and corporate jargon, punctuated by awkward laughs over overpriced appetizers. But I wanted to be there for him, so I slipped into a simple black dress, classy enough for the occasion, but still me. When we pulled up to the restaurant, a sleek downtown spot with low lighting and the hum of a live acoustic guitar in the background, I noticed the table was set for 3, not 4. "Where's your wife?" I asked David as we settled into our seats. His smile flickered, just for a second. "Oh, she's out of town visiting her mom," he said, brushing it off. "Just us tonight." A waiter swooped in, pouring a rich Cabernet into our glasses, and for a while it was the usual small talk, work updates, the latest company restructuring, nothing groundbreaking. James seemed relaxed, sipping his wine and nodding along. But then, somewhere between the bruschetta and the entree, David steered the conversation somewhere else. "James," he said, swirling his glass. "You're a lucky guy, you know that." James grinned, glancing at me. "Yeah, I know." David's eyes lingered on me a beat too long. "A woman like Sarah, smart, poised, and still gorgeous at 42, that's rare." I felt my face warm up. The compliment caught me off guard, but it wasn't just the words, it was how he said them. Slow, deliberate, like he was testing the waters. James just chuckled. "You're laying it on thick, David." David smiled, but there was something in his expression I couldn't pin down. "Maybe," he said, taking a sip, "or maybe I'm just calling it like I see it." The conversation rolled on, but I couldn't shake the feeling that David was building up to something. His glances, his tone, it all felt loaded. By the time dessert hit the table, a dark chocolate torte I barely touched, I was tense, though I couldn't say why. That's when David leaned forward, elbows on the table, his voice dropping low. "I've been mulling something over for a while," he said, his eyes steady. "Something unconventional." James raised an eyebrow. "Unconventional?" David's gaze flicked to me, then back to James. "You know, as we get older, life can start to feel like it's on autopilot. Same routines, same patterns. Sometimes shaking things up, stepping outside the norm, can wake you up." My stomach tightened. The air felt heavy, like something big was about to drop. James frowned. "I'm not sure I'm tracking, David." David exhaled, like he was choosing his words with care. "I respect you, James, and I respect your marriage, but I've always thought certain boundaries can be flexible, given the right situation." The table went quiet. My pulse kicked up a notch. I knew, deep down, where this was going, but I didn't want to believe it. Then David looked right at me and said, "What if, just once, we let those boundaries bend?" My breath caught. My fingers clenched around my wine glass so hard I thought it might snap. James's face froze. Part confusion, part shock. All I could think was, what does he expect us to say? The warm glow of the restaurant suddenly felt suffocating. I glanced at James, waiting for him to shut it down, to laugh it off or call it out for what it was. But he just sat there, processing. "I'm sorry, David," James finally said, his voice tight. "I think I need you to spell out what you mean." David leaned back, a slow, knowing smile spreading across his face. He didn't flinch. I meant what I said. A shift in perspective, a break from the usual. My stomach churned. Was he really suggesting what I thought I couldn't stay quiet anymore? "I'm not sure what you're expecting here," I said, keeping my voice steady but firm. David let out a soft laugh, like he found my reaction cute. "No expectations, Sarah. Just a thought." His eyes darted between me and James. "You've been married, 18 years now?" James nodded warily. "Yeah, 18. "That's a long time," David said, his smile widening. "A great thing, don't get me wrong, but long marriages evolve, right? People change, needs change. Sometimes keeping the fire going means stepping out of your comfort zone." My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. "So you're saying we should shake things up?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. David tilted his head, his gaze locked on mine. "I'm saying sometimes sharing something, or someone you love, doesn't have to be a loss. It can be an adventure." The words hit me like a slap. There it was, out in the open, no more dancing around it. He was talking about me, about us, about some twisted arrangement I'd never even dreamed of. I turned to James, desperate for him to say something, anything to shut this down. But instead of outrage, I saw something else in his eyes. Hesitation, uncertainty. My stomach dropped. James. My voice came out softer than I meant, almost a plea. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling hard. David, I don't know what you think our marriage is, but you haven't said no. David cut in smoothly, setting his empty glass down with a quiet clink. His eyes glinted with something. Amusement, confidence. James went silent again. The tension wrapped around us like a vice. I swallowed hard. Why wasn't he ending this? Why was there even a pause? Look, David continued, his tone softening but still firm. I'm not here to offend anyone. This isn't about disrespecting what you have. It's about rethinking limits, seeing if they're even there. My breath felt shallow. The guitar in the background sounded miles away. Then, as casually as if he were offering a business card, David pulled a sleek black card from his pocket and slid it across the table toward James. Just think about it, he said. If curiosity beats out certainty, you know where to reach me. James stared at the card, unmoving. I couldn't even look at it. I'd heard of guys like David, powerful, entitled, so used to getting their way that they could pitch the wildest ideas like they were no big deal, but I never thought I'd be on the receiving end. I shoved my chair back and stood up, my pulse racing. I think we're done here. David didn't blink. Fair enough, he said, raising a hand in mock surrender. No pressure, just an idea. James finally snapped out of it, shaking his head like he was waking up. Yeah, we should go, he muttered, pushing the card back toward David. I didn't wait. I turned and walked out, barely noticing the other diners' curious stares. The cool Seattle night air hit me hard, but it didn't clear my head. James's footsteps followed, and I braced myself for him to be as rattled as I was. But when he spoke, his words stopped me cold. Do you think he was serious? I froze, my heart hammering. I turned to face him, searching his expression, praying I'd misheard. But the look in his eyes said I hadn't. And right then, I realized something worse than David's proposal. James wasn't just shaken. He was thinking about it. The drive home was dead silent. James gripped the steering wheel like it was keeping him grounded, his jaw tight, eyes glued to the road. I sat rigid in the passenger seat, arms crossed, my mind spinning. David's voice kept looping in my head. Sometimes keeping the fire going means stepping out of your comfort zone. I felt sick. As soon as we got inside, I kicked off my shoes and spun to face James. Tell me you're not actually considering this. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. He hesitated. That pause sent ice down my spine. James, I said, my voice shaking, I need you to talk to me. I don't know, Sarah, he admitted, finally meeting my eyes. It was out of left field. Out of left field, I snapped. It was insane, and you didn't shut it down right away. Why? He stepped closer, his voice softening. It threw me. Okay, I wasn't expecting it. Neither was I, but I didn't sit there weighing it. I shot back, my voice breaking. What is there to think about? James sighed again, sinking onto the couch. I know, he said quietly, but I don't know, maybe David's got a point about some stuff. I stared at him, my stomach twisting. A point about what? He rubbed his face with both hands. We've been married 10 years, Sarah. We've got a good life, a great life. But don't tell me you haven't felt it. The routine, the sameness, it's not bad, but it's not like it was. My pulse raced. So your fix is this? No, he said fast. That's not what I mean. I don't even know what I mean. David he made me think about things I've never thought about before. I shook my head, my chest tight. I can't believe this. James looked frustrated now. Sarah, I'm not saying I want to do it. I don't know why it's bugging me this much. The room felt unsteady, like I'd stepped into some warped version of my life. I took a deep breath, trying to anchor myself. James, I don't know what's going on in your head, but I'm not interested. At all. He nodded quickly. I know, and that's enough for me. Is it? I pressed. Because you keep saying you're just thinking, but what if thinking turns into wondering, and wondering turns into something else? He rubbed his temples, exhaling hard. I love you, Sarah. I don't want to lose us. Then don't risk it, I said, my voice soft but raw. Because even entertaining it changes things. He looked at me, something flickering in his eyes. Regret, maybe. I don't want to change us, he murmured. I searched his face, looking for the man I'd trusted for 10 years. He was still there, but now there was this shadow, doubt. And for the first time, I wondered if love alone could carry us through. The next few days were heavy. We went through the motions, James making coffee in the morning, me asking about his day, but there was this unspoken wall between us. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, even if he swore he wasn't interested. The fact that the idea had lingered in his mind at all gnawed at me. Friday evening, I sat alone on our back deck, a glass of Pinot in hand, watching the sun dip below the Puget Sound. I'd spent all week replaying that night, every word, every look, every silence. James stepped outside, hesitating before sitting next to me. "You've been quiet," he said. I exhaled slowly. "I've been thinking." He nodded, waiting. I turned to him. "James, I need to know. Why didn't you shut it down right away? Why'd you hesitate?" He looked away, clasping his hands together. "I told you, it caught me off guard." "That's not all of it," I pressed. "You thought about it." He swallowed, then met my eyes. "Yeah, I did." The words hit hard, even though I'd suspected it. "I don't know why," he went on. "Maybe it was how David pitched it, like it was normal, like it's something couples do after this long. And for a second, I wondered, are we missing something?" I set my glass down, folding my arms. "And now, he said, exhaling, "I know that's not us. That's not what I want." He paused, reaching for my hand. "Sarah, I don't want to lose this, but I don't want us to stagnate either." I studied him, searching for the truth in his words. "Then we fix us," I said quietly. "Not with guys like David, but by choosing each other, every day." His grip on my hand tightened. "I do choose you." For the first time in days, I could breathe. I leaned into him, resting my head on his shoulder. "Let's never let anyone else tell us what our marriage should be." He kissed my forehead. "Deal." The evening stretched on, the tension easing into something familiar. David had planted a seed of doubt, but in the end, it only reminded us what mattered us. This story is purely fictional, and all characters in it are fictitious.